Welcome to the Echo Essentials podcast. My name is Chris Pekarski, and on today's episode, we have in from, and I'm going to get this right the first time, I'm not going to get it wrong the second time, as you'll see in about 2 seconds, the Compassionate Committee for the Homeless in North Bay. We have Leah and Lisa in to chat with us a bit about their upcoming information session, what's going on in the city, who they're helping, who they're connected with. It's kind of like a more of a heartwarming episode of Essentials, as opposed to maybe going for more of those like community beat things. We still talk about a lot about that and how we can address city council, a little teaser for later, what we can best do to help people and just to be a little more considerate for those who are unhoused and homeless in the city. It was a great conversation. Lisa and Leah were awesome. That would be Leah Pierce and Lisa Henry from the committee. They were great. They shared a lot of great stories, some things that we can do just to kind of be gentler and kinder in our day-to-day. And obviously, my crusade, as always, is against the comment sections. So let us know what you think about the episode. However you choose to express your opinions, share them with us, share the episode, all those kinds of good things. But before we get to all of that and more, we do want to throw it to and thank our title sponsor, the North Bay Regional Health Center Foundation.
Dear North Bay, you've always been more than a place on the map. You're home to me. This is where I built a life with my husband, raised our kids, and taught in local schools for over 24 years. I'm proud to be part of this community. Earlier this year, my world shifted. After living with anxiety, depression, and PTSD for much of my life, I reached a point where I couldn't keep going alone. Walking into the emergency department at the North Bay Regional Health Center was one of the hardest things I've ever done. But what I found there changed everything. A nurse who made me feel safe, a crisis worker who truly listened. For the first time in a long time, I felt seen. That care gave me hope, and it inspired me to give back by supporting local health care so that others in our community can access the same compassionate care I did. If my story resonates with you, I hope you'll consider supporting the NBRHC Foundation. Please visit nbrhcfoundation.ca or call 705-495-8125 to give. Because mental health is health. With gratitude, Tiffany Van Meer.
On today's episode, we have from the Compassionate Committee, and it's a longer title, we'll get to it in a minute, Lisa Henry and Leah Pierce. Welcome in.
Thank you.
So just to get the name proper, it is the Compassionate Committee of, I'm going to get this proper. I'm not going to get it proper. It's different on my page. Oh, I got it. The Compassionate Committee for the Homelessness in North Bay.
For the homeless.
For the homelessness in North Bay. Okay.
For the homeless in North Bay.
For the homeless North Bay.
I know,
okay.
That's a mouthful.
So let's get it one more time.
Okay.
The Compassionate Committee for the Homeless in North Bay.
Correct.
Bingo. Took only 4 different tries, Ben. So maybe if you can explain to our listeners what that is.
Well, I can start with how it started.
Absolutely.
Maybe I can tell you the story. So
let's do it.
It'd be this time in 2020, I was on my way to Symmetrics for some physiotherapy.
Okay.
Bright and early in the morning. And when I was driving through downtown, I noticed an older gentleman sleeping in the doorway of a business. And back then, we had, the plastic no-frills bags. And he had filled them and placed them around him to keep warm. And I suspect it included everything he owned. And that was first thing in the morning. And I couldn't get that vision out of my head. And later on in the evening, we had an executive meeting with the Pro-Cathedral Catholic Women's League of Canada. And I had mentioned to the executive what I had seen and how, it just felt an incredible calling. And I could only describe it as something that just wouldn't let me go. And we call it the Holy Spirit. And it's just a driving force for action. And so the response that the ladies and our executive said to me was, okay, Leah, what do you want to do? Well, I have no idea. So that was the start. And then I passed the idea over to my friend Lisa, And I call her like the super recruiter. And because I knew that this would be a big job and we needed help. It wouldn't just be out of the Pro Cathedral, and it wouldn't just be the CWL. We would need help. And so then I asked Lisa for some help.
Right. And enter Lisa.
Yeah, so actually it was Leah's strategic vision that we reach out to the downtown churches. And that was the easy part, just trying to make some connections. And then so contacted as many churches as we could find that we thought were dealing with the same situation and wanted to maybe be involved and be active in helping. And so, and then all of a sudden they all were coming back, sure, yes, we've been wanting to do something. We just didn't know where to start. And so every church that we reached out to responded with a yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like, and again, like I wouldn't say I'm a practicing Catholic anymore, but it seems like the thing that's coming to my Catholic education coming forward is like, it's kind of, you're all like bound or united by like the Good Samaritan principle here. Is that fair to say? Like, I mean, maybe that's translated a little bit differently depending on each different, congregation, but like, it feels like you're looking at just helping those who are in need, right? Is
Absolutely.
that fair to assume?
And interesting that you should mention that, because one of the things we needed to do was, well, first off, we needed to research exactly what it is was out there and what gaps needed to be filled, but also communication was key. And when you mentioned Good Samaritan, we came up with the Good Samaritan Corner, and that was published. That's something that's published weekly in church bulletins, and depending on the church, it could be, something that's more online, that kind of thing. And so they're essentially suggestions on how to help people who are unhoused.
Yeah. Okay.
Or promoting some of the events that we have going on.
Gotcha. Okay. So we know who, we know a bit of the why. So what does the committee do on like a routine base, a yearly base? Like, what's the collective doing right now? And we're going to get into this next session, but maybe let's start with some of the boots on the ground kind of before we get to the 4th annual. If there are boots on the ground, I'm just maybe laying the table here.
So okay. Preparing for today, I really reflected on the journey. I don't want to cry. So I'm going to cry. Okay. So the journey, thank
just
you.
in case.
So the journey, started during a global pandemic.
Yeah.
So you take somebody who's already struggling, and then you apply a global pandemic, and we went from hidden homelessness to visible homelessness. And I honestly think that had a lot to do with it.
The pandemic, you mean?
Yeah, the pandemic. And so when the committee started up, it was over Zoom because we couldn't meet.
Yeah.
Right? And then when we did our research, we came up with a quick reference guide because we didn't realize there were so many services and frontline organizations in North Bay.
Yeah.
Now, at that time, some of them were up and running, and some of them had closed their doors because of the global pandemic. And when you have service organizations and frontline organizations who are providing support to the marginalized in the community, and they have to close their doors, what happens then?
Yeah.
Then they're really struggling. And I think that's what we saw. And so when we had our first campaign, it was the Backpacks of Love, and Lisa named that.
It's a good name.
Awesome name. And we held it at a church. I'm trying to remember the name of the church.
In Ferris.
In Ferris, yeah. It's Joseph Street. I'm sorry.
The New Apostolic.
I think it was the New Apostolic Church, yeah, which was handy, by the way. And and when the committee members all got together to run the Backpacks of Love for the very first time, that was the first time we'd ever known each other, and a lot of people from different churches. So I would not have gone to, say, Calvin.
No.
I've gone to St. John the Divine Anglican Church, but I haven't gone to, say, Calvin or, that kind of thing. So it was really interesting to mix and mingle with people who are honestly like-spirited and like-faithed. And so So that was the very first thing that we did, was the Backpacks of Love, because that came out of our research, that a lot of frontline organizations were saying, well, you have somebody who's unhoused, they need to put their stuff in something. And then I thought back to that older gentleman with the
no frills bags.
The no frills bags. And I thought, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
So
what was this campaign, Backpacks for Love?
Backpacks of Love, yeah.
Backpacks of Love. Yeah. So what did that look like?
Essentially, so we meet monthly.
Okay.
And then we have a certain agenda, and we strategize based on Leah's vision. And we talk about, what could we do to fill those gaps? And during COVID, one of the things that, like Leah spoke about, was that they carry all of their belongings, everything they have.
Right.
And when we saw them carrying multiple bags, we thought, is there any way that we can help reduce that burden for them? And that's, as we all talked around the table, that's where the backpacks idea came up with. And then to add to that, Leah said, perhaps it would be best if we talk to the frontline organizations to ask what they really need. What are they providing to them currently? So then what are the gaps?
Yeah.
Where can we help? And where can the community, because the community does want to help, they just feel a little bit helpless.
Yeah.
And they don't know what to do. And so being able to be that kind of stream for them to be able to tap into. And so then once the agencies gave us an idea, and they were great, because they'd say, take off the packaging. When you put it in the backpack, take off the packaging. And then they don't have to worry about that, because a lot of times they don't have access to a garbage can, depending on where they're trying to find some comfort and some shelter.
Okay.
So that was great. And so from that information, that we built a list, and from the list, then we were able to, through Leah's communication channels, we were able to put that out there. And then the response was overwhelming.
we had, so back then, if you can remember, you couldn't get out of your car, you had to pop your trunk, or, it's in the back seat of your car. And so we would have to, get the donated items that way. And I remember my vision was we would have like a McDonald's drive-through line kind of thing, where we'd have that many people donating, and that's exactly what happened.
That's pretty cool.
And I think oftentimes people just need to know how to help, and they just don't know how. So if we can give them an avenue in which, and suggestions in which to do that, then people really step forward, and that's exactly what happened. I won't ever forget that.
Yeah. I think you raised a really good point with this story, is that I think sometimes when we get, lost in the hustle and bustle of day to day, we kind of forget what we can contribute or what we can do or how we can make an impact. And just doing something simple as this. I mean, I know I make it sound simple. I know it wasn't optically, but just doing a little more for people, right? And we talk about how the general public, the community of North Bay in the area can help, do more, right? I keep going back to this right here. So the 4th annual session. So I'm going to get this one right off the top.
Oh, the info?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what you need to know about helping people who are experiencing homelessness, correct? I think I got that one right. So you have annual sessions where you invite the public, you have community partners. Can you maybe detail a bit of what this information session is going to look like and who's going to be there? If we talk about community partners.
Sure. So this year, we're going to have Sherry Culling, who is a Royal Canadian Legion Provincial Service Officer.
Okay.
Because we do have veterans who are homeless in the area. So she actually spoke at one of our monthly meetings, and she was amazing. So she has a lot of frontline experience on that.
Okay.
And Trevor Levesque, who is with Operation Mercy Street Relief. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I'm not sure if I'm familiar myself. No.
So they have this trailer at Holy Name of Jesus out on Memorial Drive, the church, the Catholic Church on Memorial Drive. And they go out on Saturdays and they feed people who are unhoused.
Okay.
And he is one of the representatives from that organization. And he'll be speaking. And then Tracy Poole. Oh my goodness, she is just incredible. Do you want to?
Yeah,
Tell us a little bit about Tracy.
Tracy just came and was a recent guest speaker from, and I'm going to get the name wrong, the Brain Injury Association of North Bay.
Okay.
So by and B, I think is how she phrases it. Tracy's an amazing soul, and it would surprise people, I think, to know that people that have suffered a brain injury might be on the fringe or experiencing homelessness.
Yeah.
Because they might have a situation where they were quite vital, living a very vital life, and then something comes along and happens to them beyond their control, and now they've lost their livelihood.
Shake their world.
Shakes their world.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so she was telling us some stories and sharing how they help people, and they're doing amazing work. And there are people. I mean, I met somebody a long time ago that had suffered a brain injury, lost their livelihood, and it was actually the Canadian Mental Health Association that was helping them, with recovery. But there's probably no recovery in those situations, and so they have to find a way, and it's not always easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you have these three amazing people who are going to be in-house. Where is it happening, and what's being discussed? It sounds like it's going to be like a kind of like a round table, open forum. What's the method here?
So it'll be at Trinity United Church, 111 McIntyre Street East. Mm-hmm. I know that address off of the top of my head. Okay. And doors open at 6:30. Everything kicks off at 7. I am fairly punctual, so it'll be 7 o'clock.
Okay.
And we start with, land acknowledgement. We go to a prayer. Just to center ourselves, because like you say, there's a hustle and bustle, and it's really important to center yourself so that you can be open to what people are going to talk about. And then each guest speaker has about 10, 12 minutes to talk about what their organization or what they do. And then there is a Q&A portion as well.
Okay.
And typically, sometimes we, for some reason, hit it on a snowstorm, but typically we have about 60 people who show up. And then at about 8 o'clock, we wrap up. And, if there are any sort of sidebar conversations that need to happen, that, we need more information from the audience, then they can certainly do that, because we're not kicked out right away at 8 o'clock. The doors stay open for anything. But it's also another opportunity for us to message about the Winter Boot campaign.
Right. Okay.
So that's one of the reasons why the timeliness here is so important. Where we have our information session, and then that'll be on, Monday? Mm-hmm. Usually it's Wednesday, but on Monday. And then our Winter Boot campaign is that Saturday.
Got it.
On the 1st of November.
Okay. Just for the record, I'm not sure if we put it out there, but the information session, which is happening on the Monday, would be Monday, October 27th.
Correct.
Right. Okay. So that sounds awesome. I mean, I would severely hope you didn't just put like a jinx out into the world there where we're going to have a snowstorm on Monday. I'm not ready for this. I'm wearing sneakers. I'm holding out until December 1. I will fight that fight as long as I can. But let's talk about who can attend this. So is it open to the general public?
It
is. Be a member of a certain congregation?
No, anyone can attend.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. And like the public service announcements have all gone out to the media, who, by the way, are amazing, very supportive of what we do. And so, it's also on our Facebook page. So, if you want more information, you can check us out on Facebook. So,
fantastic.
It's open to the public. And what's interesting is, because we have different guest speakers every year, we have returning audience members because they're interested in learning more, and because they're very invested.
Yeah.
And so it's great that we've had such support from the frontline organizations, because they work all day and then they turn around and speak in the evenings. Mm-hmm. So we're very, very blessed to have them come out and share their stories.
Tireless work, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, imagine my goal with this piece, not that I'm necessarily running promo, but it goes to act as like we're going to bring attention to something that's really important. Is that, if the more people can learn about this, whether they're, religious or Christian or not, they can see how they can maybe contribute to helping with a very, complex situation and issue in our city. and how best people can lend their hand, no matter what walk of life they come from. And I think it was really cool to see that like you had all these different church communities kind of coming together. It wasn't just like, oh, it's going to be like our church. Not that would be the case, but it's like, it doesn't matter. It's about people, helping people first, right? That's what matters the most.
It was incredible how we all came together, and strangers, honestly, strangers. And it was just, that common thread of just being called to action. I don't know how to describe it, but we get along so well, and we go to, we have monthly meetings, and we just rotate around to the various churches that are part of the committee, and, we're very open to that ecumenicalism.
I like that. So I want to talk about some community resources before we get to, because Lisa, you kind of beat me to the punch on one of these things, but I want to come back to it. I'm going to try to remember. No, this is good. It's keeping me sharp. We're going to talk a bit about the survey that was put out. I think it was last January, maybe this past January, from 2021's reports regarding demographics with the unhoused and homeless in the city, in the area. But I'll get to that. That's a teaser. I'm going to try to remember as best as I can. But I mean, it's funny because we talk about how there's different resources in the community, and I'm like, well, we should be doing more. And then I realized that there is quite a bit, but there's still always people who have yet to be helped. Right? We talk a bit about how we had an episode with the folks down at the Gathering Place, which would have been, I'm going to get this wrong, Ben, probably a week or two ago. 2 weeks. Thank you, Ben. Time is an illusion. And they talked about who they help. And it's not just people who are homeless. It's many people, but it's helping people in general. And we talk a bit about the low-income people involvement of Nipissing group. We talk a bit about all the different various churches, the food banks, the health unit. I was reading some stuff from Dr. Zimbalati today. And I was like, oh, yeah, they're also involved because it's more than just, a community issue. It's a health issue, mental health concerns. There's so many different parties at play that are looking at trying to help solve what is ultimately like a very complex, kind of like not universally identifiable, explanation to why people are homeless right now. And it's gotten worse in the last couple of years. Talk about the pandemic. This report, I got back to it, stated that we saw an increase of like somewhere between 70 to 80% since like 2021, which was like a higher increase.
62% increase
60%,
since
okay.
2021.
2021, okay. So I think
It just so happened that, we started in March 2021.
Yeah.
And that report had come out, a couple of months prior to that. And I mean, it was obvious.
Yeah.
We didn't need the report.
No.
You don't need a piece of paper to tell that somebody's living on the street.
Mm-hmm. And like, it's also like, I'll just make this very clear. Like, it's not like these reports are trying to, sometimes like it's hard because they're always surveyed a bit differently. It's not meant, I don't think, to like downplay the significance or to soften the blow of homeless. Like, I think we need to understand that this is still a growing, constant concern, even now more so that things are made more complicated in a post-pandemic world, that like this issue isn't going away. And these people deserve compassion and they deserve support. The fundamental rights of having a house and a home and a place to eat, those things are important. And I feel like sometimes we maybe forget about that on like the walk, down Main Street or Castle Street, or I'm not innocent of this, sometimes it's hard to kind of, wrestle with the idea of like, it's just something that you see now and like you can turn a blind eye, but like it's important to remember that those are still people and we should help these people, right? This isn't just like an North Bay thing. It's not a certain religious background thing. It's not a timely thing. It's gotten made worse, since the pandemic, as we can report, but it's people. We should be helping people, right?
I always consider them our neighbors.
Yeah.
We're all neighbors. We're all one community, no matter where you live. And we know it's a national problem, but regardless, in our community, we're neighbors. And sometimes think of them as neighbors in need. And any one of us could be in this situation at any time. Life happens. So if nothing else, and all you do is say hello or you look a person in the eye, it makes all the difference in their day. And so sometimes it's the little things, So St. Mother Teresa would say, do small things with great love. And so it doesn't have to be a big thing. And everybody seems in our city, I see a great response, not just from our little organization, but from many organizations. And I think that we have a lot of heart here in North Bay that contributes and tries to do the right thing. Sometimes it's just, how can I help? And they want to, and sometimes it's just not knowing how.
Fair point.
And I think you have to give yourself grace as well. So, for instance, if you're going to, I say Timmy's, but if you go to Timmy's or something, you know, and somebody, you know, maybe sitting on the sidewalk and, you know, they're having a rough day, you know, one day you might walk by them. But maybe the next time you say hi.
Yeah.
Or you say, God bless. Guaranteed they're going to say hi and God bless back, because it happens every time to me. And then another day you might say, hey, you know what, I'm going in to get a coffee. Do you need anything? And one fella, he goes, I said, do you want a sandwich? And he goes, could I have a chili? And I said, absolutely.
Yeah, you can have a chili.
Yeah. So,
I want a chili.
You know, and, you know,
That's
although
awesome.
although I helped him, I felt good about it.
Yeah.
As well. And then, of course, then you share that. And you don't just share that with your committee members. You share that with your friends and your family. And then it just sort of has that ripple effect of kindness and compassion. And this is where, you know, we're trying to change that narrative, because sometimes life can be very unkind.
Yeah.
And so that's the other thing we're trying to do. And the information session is, you know, to help people help people.
Right.
You know?
I like it.
So, yeah.
Makes sense. I mean, we go through like this whole study thing, which was, I'm going to call it correctly, the point in time study from joint with DSAB and a couple other different, you know, involved groups. And it's insightful, I think, but like, you know, the numbers are the numbers, but we talk a bit about the acquired brain injury part of it, right? Which was it Tracy? Was her name?
Tracy Poole.
Oh, I nailed it. Okay, perfect. You know, according to this report, it said 33% of people reported having an acquired brain injury, right? And this is not necessarily directly related, but it's, you know, duly followed by 68% reported mental health challenges, right? It's a complex issue. It talks a bit about people who are also just recently made homeless in the last 3 years, right? Talk about the whole timeline thing. Like, there's not just one identifiable reason. It's a lot of people who are potentially having challenges and struggles with a lot of different things, and it can't be made simply put, as some people would in a comment section, as I will often go on a crusade. This is my axe to grind, by the way. I realize I'm also on like a podcast show, and people can comment whatever they want, and they're feel free to do so. I don't fully understand. This is just be like my soapbox. I don't fully understand the capacity which some people can be unkind in comment sections. Like, it just feels like everyone thinks that they know someone else's life without ever having to spoken to that person or look them in the eye.
Look them in the eye.
Right? And like, that's just like, even if like you can't like understand what they've been through, like at least give them the kindness and courtesy of like not judging them without knowing either. You know, it's hard because like you just have to give them that grace, I guess, like that consideration. You know, it's just because like there's so many different things that can play a factor, whether it's something like a traumatic, you know, brain injury, or you know, a fallout from substance abuse, or something that would have been, you know, life altering. There's just different ways in which you can kind of see the way people can, you know, suffer from being homeless or get to being homeless. And now that everything's more expensive too, I mean, especially with rent housing, we talk about housing in the city. That's not making anything any easier. And that's not just a North Bay problem issue either. It's happening across the country, and rents are going higher, especially in Ontario. Don't get me started on Ontario. Oh my gosh. But,
And food.
yeah. Yeah. Food is.
So if you're on Ontario Works or disability, and you're dipping into the housing portion in order to feed your children, unfortunately, it's not going to take long. For you to struggle to, you know, to put a roof over your head.
Yeah, things
or
get
your
very
children's
tight.
head.
Right.
And I think too, a lot of people can start out if they're newly homeless, and we forget that once you're in a homeless situation, how that mental health component can escalate. Because
good point.
you know, you start out and you're okay, but over time, when things don't get better, you start to slide more and more and more. And that's the human condition.
Yep.
And Dr. De La Quila was one of our guest speakers, and he said it's sort of the chicken and the egg. What comes first? You know, is addiction caused by homelessness, or is homelessness caused by addiction? You know, so I know, I mean, there are people who have to take drugs in order to stay awake or stay warm, or, you know, that kind of thing, right? So So and unfortunately it becomes very addictive. So
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely not like, and I get to the whole comment section part where people like project what others feel. It's like, well, people don't want to be like, you know, they don't want to potentially be less addicted. They don't want to be, you know, having a substance abuse issue. Well, the report says a lot of people don't want that issue. You know, 97% of people said they would like to find permanent housing. Yeah, they don't want to be living on the street necessarily. They want to have a home and a roof, right? Like we have to kind of help start to clear some of that stigma. And I guess maybe that's what this episode is good for, if at the very least is having that conversation continued, right? And things like the information session where you can have people, you know, who are interconnected and find this to be, you know, interest of them and they're already invested, or those who have never been in contact with the committee who want to see what else they can do more, you know, whether it's downtown or elsewhere. Like things like this, I hope can help contribute towards making the right steps, right? Would you say the same?
Yeah. I recall 2 years ago, I met an individual on the steps of the cathedral. And I think the biggest, if I could offer a takeaway, it would be before judging, and sometimes it operates out of fear too, right? We're a little bit afraid of those encounters, but is to try giving the benefit of the doubt. And I remember somebody came up to me at church and they said, there's a person on the steps. And then another person came up to me and said, there's a person on the steps. So I went outside. I think I told you about this. And it was a really cold fall day. And as I approached, their jeans were wet, their socks were wet, their boots were wet, and they were changing their socks. And I said, hi. And I said, my name's Lisa. And he told me his name. And I said, how are you doing? And as I was walking up, he looked fatigued, you know, and so anyway, I said, do you have a dry pair of socks? And he said, no. And so he was taking off his socks so he could kind of, as best he could in these damp fall days, try to dry them out. So anyway, so I said, look, I'll see if I can get into Catholic Charities because they have clothing. And at that time, our custodian was walking by. And I said, do you have a key? And he said, would you happen to have maybe a pair of jeans and a belt? And so Robert said, absolutely. So I went with him. Robert sized him up perfectly. I don't know how he knew what size of jeans. Got him dry socks, a pair of jeans, a pair of boots, and a belt. And when we came back and I started talking to him and I said, when is the last time you slept? And he said, probably a day and a half ago. And so sleep is not something that happens very easily because they're kind of trying to protect themselves. You know, there can be a lot of dangers in this lifestyle. And I said to him, Leah had told us, you know, through Leah, we got to know a lot of the agencies, and I called Benji. And I said, Benji, I have a friend here. His name is whatever. And by any chance, could he just come and have, you know, somewhere to sleep? And he said, yeah, send him over. And he said, what's his name? And I told him. He said, oh, I know who he is.
Oh, really?
And he had one dollar store bag. That was all he had. And it was open, and there was, you know, a roll of toilet paper and granola and bottles of water, and that was all he had on him. And you could tell that he was fighting sleep. And you can tell sometimes what is an addiction and what is absolute exhaustion. And just taking the time to just say hello and find out what a person might be dealing with that day. And becoming aware through the information session about what agencies are out there and where we reach out and just ask for some help, and where and they said this is actually our clothing exchange day. He can have a shower and he can get I don't think they do this anymore, but at that time that was being offered. So, you know, just giving someone the benefit of the doubt is huge.
Yeah.
before we think we know what they're experiencing. But this person hadn't slept and was, had very little food. And it's no wonder he needed a belt, losing weight. So all of those things, they compound and they take a toll on a person.
I know our first information session, there was a attendee, and they had a mindset.
Okay.
Yeah,
coming with some
preconceived notions, right?
Yeah.
And then we had, our presenters, and we actually had somebody with lived experience also talk about themselves. And I just saw the change in their expression. And I thought, yeah, that's why we do this.
Yeah.
Even if I can just reach one person and change that narrative with that one person, because then it will ripple. And then they will go and tell their friends and their family, and this is how we're going to do it. Unfortunately, it's very slow, but we will, we continue to fight the good fight and do this, because it is so important to help each other.
North Bay's turning 100, and what a time to be here. From the buzz of the Heritage Parade to sunset concerts at the waterfront, the city is alive with celebration. And you know who's right in the middle of it all? Homewood Suites by Hilton North Bay. We're proud to be a part of this milestone moment. Whether you're coming home from a family reunion, planning a gathering with friends, or just simply making the most of everything the Centennial has to offer, our doors are open. Stay in a spacious suite that feels like home, with a full kitchen to cook in, room to relax, and a space to unwind after a full day of fun. Are you hosting something bigger? Our event spaces and amazing local partners like the Grand and Stock Transportation make it easy to bring people together. Best of all, they're just steps from the action. The fireworks, the food trucks, the music, the laughter, it's all right here. Celebrate 100 years of North Bay with us. Use code Centennial to save on your stay anytime this year. Be at home with Homewood Suites by Hilton North Bay. Join the party today at 495 Oak Street West, or give us a call at 705-495-3000.
It's almost that time of year. Early mornings at the rink, fresh notebooks and backpacks, and a community gearing up for another great season of varsity sports. At Source for Sports North Bay, we're proud to be part of it all. Whether it's finding your kid's first pair of skates, gearing up for tryouts, or outfitting your team for the season ahead, we've got you covered. Because here, we're not just a sports store, we're neighbors, coaches, teammates, and fans. And we're proud to cheer you on every shift, step, and stride of the way. Visit Source for Sports North Bay at 1321 Fisher Street, and let us help you along your way.
I can imagine, and maybe less so. I mean, I think you attract people who are, in it for the good, right? But you probably have some awkward conversations and some difficult conversations with those who might, at the very, most generous disagree, and at the very least genuine, just totally not understand and are refusing to understand. But that's kind of part of the campaign, so to speak, right? Is to help others just kind of just understand, just take a little more time, be more compassionate, right? As the name would say, is just to kind of give a little more time to think about what actually is happening instead of just putting a label on someone that you've never spoken to before.
Yeah, I even just the people that we're around all the time, and some are fearful,
Yep.
But that's when I say just give yourself grace. If it doesn't happen, this time around, you know what? Maybe the next time you'll feel more comfortable, or you'll be in a better situation. Maybe it'll be daylight and not, nighttime, which can be
A little more unsettling.
Yeah, it can be. And, we do have some ladies, especially who are a little bit older. And so they're a little more fearful regardless, and so I can see where they're coming from. Absolutely. And I don't judge at all. I'm trying to encourage opportunity to, grow that compassion.
Yeah.
And that understanding. And the only way we can do that is through education and communication, and just continue the good fight, right?
Yeah.
Continue to do it.
Yeah, I think it's good work. I mean, I commend both of you and all the committee for what you're doing. There's many different parties in North Bay in the area that are trying to do similar stuff and similar good, but it should never stop, right? We never should just stop and say like, okay, that was one, and I'm not saying this either. This is the one good thing we did. We're good. Like, no, these people and our city in general will benefit from continued good, right? From just addressing different, areas and topics of the general topic. If like, I don't have like a science-based background, but like, I have a bit of understanding with like social welfare and how that operates and like, why certain factors happen. Like I would never be able to help someone, at a fundamental level with like a mental health episode, but I can understand maybe like economically, maybe how they got here and why substance abuse can be tricky. Like it's just having those conversations with people who might have similar stuff, just doing more and more every kind of day. Right. And I think I'm keen. I don't know if I can make it, but I would like to. But I encourage all of our listeners and our viewers, if you get a chance, if you want to see what's happening in our community and what various awesome members of our community are doing to help encourage and foster that conversation for compassion and empathy and understanding and support for our community. It's stuff like this that's going to get you there, right? In terms of like, instead of just being on the keyboard, again, I'm talking to the people in our comments. I'm just, at this point, I'm going to like totally just rile them up. It's like, go and try to do something positive, right? And if this is something that's going to either educate you and help others, or it's going to motivate you to go and do something, one's more than zero.
When you help someone, you help yourself because you feel so good.
Yeah.
There is something about helping other people. It doesn't have to be a huge gesture, but honestly, so for the naysayers, I would say, think about helping others and however you want to do it. But if I just might say that one of the things I really love about the committee is our ability to adapt. So we have a couple of examples about how we adapt.
Please do, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so I get so excited about talking about what
please.
we do. So
Maybe this is a talk show at this point.
Okay.
Please, I encourage you to continue talking.
So of course, it was a couple of years in, and we're under Zoom again, and one of our guest speakers was our MPP, Vic Fideli. Mm-hmm. And it was that evening where one of our committee members, Peggy Morrison, who runs Open Arms Cafe, which is...
Oh, I know Peggy Morrison.
Yeah. St. John the Divine.
I do know Peggy, yeah.
She's awesome.
Yeah, love Peggy.
Yeah.
And so she operates Open Arms Cafe, which offers a hot meal Wednesday evenings out of the parish hall. And so typically our guest speakers, they show up at 7, they say what they want to say, whatever, answer a few questions, and off they go. But Vic Fideli, God bless him, he stayed on the whole time. And so he sat through our regular business. And one of the items that we discussed in our regular business was the need for winter footwear. She said that a lot of her diners were coming in without proper footwear in the winter. And I said, okay, we're going to come up with a winter boot program. And that evening, we came up with our winter boot campaign.
There's the pivot, the adaptation. Yeah.
And Vic Fideli said, oh my gosh, you got more done than, the legislature did, the provincial legislature did.
I believe that.
And I said, this is a need, right? So this is what we have to do. And so we have partnered with Souls for Souls Canada to provide free footwear for people who are unhoused because they're on their feet a lot.
Yep.
And I mean, their feet, they have to keep their feet dry and clean and warm. And this is how we do that. So that's how we were able to pivot on that one. And then, so we're connected with a lot of organizations. So you can imagine what my, DM is like, right?
Oh, I'm good.
So, I mean, I'm constantly, which is amazing.
It's a wealth of resources, right?
Yeah. So I mean, like Jeff LeBrun, who boots on the ground, right? Yeah. So he DMs me one day and he's like livid, and he's like, Easter is 4 days. Like things close 4 days during Easter. And, you get hungry in 4 days. And so I thought, right away, I get incensed, right? And so I bring it back to the committee and I said, I know somebody with a licensed kitchen. And I look at Peggy, she's like, oh my gosh, And I said, how about we start offering Easter dinner?
Nice.
And so our first year, so that was 2 years ago. 2 years ago? Mm-hmm. Last year? Anyway, we fed 200 people.
Whoa.
Easter dinner.
Good for you.
And then so that was 2 years, right? And then this year it was 230. And then at our strategic planning meeting, we talked about, doing it again because clearly there's a need. And she said they are seeing 250 people an evening. And she said I would expect to have to feed 250 people. So, we receive support from organizations and the food rescue program in order to provide food for those people, people, and they don't necessarily have to be unhoused. We had a gentleman who said to me, he goes, I just didn't want to be alone at Easter. Yeah. And I said, you are exactly where you need to be.
Yep.
And it was lovely.
Yeah.
It was lovely.
That's powerful. I like that.
Yeah. Lots of ham going around at night. I have to say, the ham slinging is so...
Ham slinging, put that on the T-shirt.
I have to say, yeah. Peeling potatoes and carrots and everything else. Yeah, it's quite something.
Right.
So it was wonderful. So our ability to adapt when it comes to what people notice in the community and the gaps that need filling. We've done some pretty unusual gap filling things like somebody needed a cell phone in order to continue to do their job, or somebody needed a laptop in order to check in with their parole officer, otherwise that they would be remanded again. And then a simple thing like size 15 pair of boots.
Yeah.
They're hard to come by.
It's a big pair of boots, if I'm being quite honest with you.
Yeah. And so we have lovely friends at True Self, and Brooke reached out to me one evening and she said, got this gentleman that needs a size 15 pair of boots. And we're like, we're on it.
Yep.
It's just like, give us a task, right?
Yeah.
And so we came up with the size 15 pair of boots, and she came by and picked them up, and she couldn't wait to give it to, this was late at night, and she couldn't wait to give the boots to him. And so this is what she did. So I get this text message, because she and I text each other all the time, and it's a picture of this individual with the biggest grin you've ever seen on his face, because it's the first boots he's ever owned.
Wow.
And I'm just like, it was extremely satisfying and humbling, and I cried. And it's just very emotional. And it was just incredible. And those are the takeaways. When we have our meetings, I'll say, this is what your efforts did, sitting around the table. Yeah. This is what we did. And so when people sponsor a pair of boots, for the winter boot campaign, like, they're sponsoring more than just that. They're sponsoring hope.
Yeah.
And the fact that if we can be compassionate to one other person, how does that change them, right?
Yeah.
And just seeing that grin was incredible. I will never forget that.
Yeah, it could be life altering, it could be life changing. But I'm happy to know that, whatever gaps exist out there in our current framework, I'm sure you can't fill them all, but you have quite the task force to mobilize and pivot and move fast that, when you need to do something, you can. And I think that's really cool. And especially as we approach winter season, we're not talking about snow here today. We're not jinxing it. But as we get to that point, like, that's going to become, a seasonal change where it's going to have a profound impact on those who are homeless, right? So it's keeping that in mind as well as we talk about consideration and grace and compassion, that it's going to be, a different kind of challenge and often much more difficult for those who are out there right now. So that's important to keep in mind.
And we're part of the community advisory board. So, we've already talked about the warming center, and getting that going, because winter happens. It's bound to happen. And so it's one of those things where we know there's going to be a need, and it's really important because we certainly recognize that where we live, we have the seasons, right? And so that's what we need to do in order. And I look at it this way: I just want to get them through the night. Survive a night, and hopefully survive the next night. And it really does come down to being able to survive.
Maybe at some point, we could have talked a bit about it. Maybe I'll save it for a future podcast episode. This is work for Chris, a teaser for later, about not just food inequality, which is obviously very important, but work inequality and making sure people have a job or can find access to work to help provide for themselves when they can, where they can. That's important too, because it's not like these people, or people don't want to work. I'm sure they want to go and do something, provide for themselves. It's not like any kind of approach to living their day. It's not like they're avoiding a 9 to 5. It's not that at all. It's just a matter of getting them opportunities, right? And so maybe that's an episode that I can write in the future for later to kind of help bookend this conversation. But if we can, before we get going, maybe you can talk a bit about this as well. The connections with the warming center. You said you have some connections with the community advisory group. Can you talk a bit about those, maybe?
So the warming center is, run by the Crisis Center, and that's over in Northern Pines. So that's in terms of our involvement is we know about it. I believe it's going to open up 1 November, but they'll definitely put that information out there. They'll announce it for sure. Yeah, which will be really important.
Yeah.
To,
making it accessible, making it known.
Yeah.
Very important stuff.
And so, and that's one of the things that a lot of people who work closely with the Unhoused, there is a real connection. It's a word of mouth sort of thing. So as soon as, somebody's offering a meal or whatever, they know this is where to go. So, and it's usually
putting the word out.
Yeah.
Getting the word out to all the
Well, allow me to do the same. So I'll put the word out there because I know on this show we have a very unique privilege of being accessed kind of directly wired to City Hall. I'll put the call out, city councilors, if you get a chance, come check out the information session, come talk with us, talk to Leah and Lisa here to see what they can do to, maybe address some issues at the city level that maybe they can help fill those gaps as well, because it's not just your fight, it's everyone's fight, right, to help others. So Go attend, see what we can do, and see how we can best help out everyone else. So,
thanks, Chris.
Before we get going, any last minute shout outs? Speaking of shout outs, the event promo, obviously, October 27th.
7th at Trinity United,
Yeah, and then, of course, we have our winter boot campaign, which is the 1st of November.
Okay.
And we operate out of the garages across from the Pro Cathedral. I don't know how else to describe it, but
that's where we
the big
collect.
White church downtown. That's the Pro Cathedral, and then there's a bank of garages, and we take
on that one day.
We literally take over Father Larry's parking spot because what we've learned is it's really tough to collect boots and socks and mitts and stuff like that, and keep everything dry. So we do that there, and then we collect. So we asked for people to financially sponsor a pair of boots, because we've gotten to know the frontline organization so well. We know what they need in terms of sizes and men's and women's and that sort of thing, footwear. So then we go shopping, and we usually get some pretty darn good deals. So we spread, that money around, and we're able to, just extend it a little bit forward. So hopefully we'll have enough boots sponsored that we're able to purchase 100 boots. I'm kind of hopeful this time around, but we'll have to see what kind of deals we get. So
okay. So if anyone wants to participate in the boots campaign, how do they go about that? Because we talked about where it's located. How do I get involved?
So if you'd like to come down and see us at the Pro Cathedral, at the garages, and you want to either bring some new hats, mitts, scarves, socks. Socks are great.
Yep.
And then if you want to sponsor a pair of boots, we're there collecting money as well, if that's what you'd like to do. And then that's about it. And we love talking to people when they show up. We just love having the opportunity to have that engagement and answer any questions people might have. So it's a great opportunity to connect with people as well. So, and thank them, sincerely thank them, yeah.
And the information is on our Facebook page.
Perfect.
And we have an e-transfer, which seems to be really handy. We have friends all across Canada, so which is wonderful.
Yep.
Facebook has really helped a great deal, so it's just been wonderful, the support and the support from the media as well.
Fantastic. Well, we'll do what we can. We're doing what we can here. But we'll put the Facebook link or the group link in the episode description, and we'll make sure people can go back to it and look to it if they haven't found you yet. But ladies, thanks so much for joining me today. It was a good conversation. There's lots of things to still be discussed, and we hope to cover those more on Echo Essentials. But thank you for sharing what you can with us with the committee and the upcoming session. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
Thank us so much. Thank you. We really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you so much for listening or watching the Echo Essentials podcast. My name, as always, is Chris Pekarski. Let us know what you thought about the episode. Feel free to share a like, share the episode itself, leave a comment, subscribe to our Echo Essentials newsletter as well, of course. Stay on top of all things Echo and North Bay, and let us know what you thought about this and all the other topics we've talked about or is going on in the community in the comment section. Thanks so much.